Like they would literally laugh at me for not having physical faders to be moving. And they say, you mix with a mouse?
Was there any pushback on mixing broadcast in a DAW?
Mixing live in a digital audio workstation 10 years ago was laughed at. We started mixing live in a DAW, a digital audio workstation, about 12 years ago at Bethel Church. And that was not done in the industry. It was a very unusual approach. People said, if you want to be a professional, you got to have professional gear. And that is a $50,000 console. You got to have racks of outboard gear. And my approach was saying, well, you can get the same thing in a software platform. And in fact, you can get more tools in a software platform for a cheaper price. It just seemed to make sense to me. And to be honest, I did it because it was a thing of necessity. I grew up producing music really on a computer since day one. I was never forced to work inside the environment of an analog console. And so when I was invited to do broadcast audio at Bethel Church, I didn't want to try to put on a hat that I was uncomfortable with, or Saul's armor and fight a Goliath with armor I'm uncomfortable with. And so mixing in a DAW was really a necessity for me. But in the end, it gave greater power because you can use any plugin from any manufacturer. You're not limited to a certain manufacturer. You can use anything. You can multi-track record at the same time. It's portable. You can put everything into a backpack, and it's just way cheaper. And so in the end, it's, I think, proven to be a platform that the world is now adopting 10, 12 years later, that they're realizing, hey, it sounds better than any console in the world. Unlimited price point. Pro Tools or mixing in a DAW can give you a better sound than really any console as far as like the automation of things, the ability to use plugins from any manufacturer. I think the pros far outweigh the cons. What are the cons? Well, let me just give you a couple. If you're trying to do high I/O stuff, like a lot of inputs and outputs, or you're trying to do very low latency things, consoles can win on that thing. So say you're a monitor engineer and you're trying to create a custom mix for each band member. That's 10 mixes you've got to create for the band members. That's a lot of I/O needs, a lot of audio input needs, as well as those band members need to have extremely low latency. So when the drummer's hitting that snare, it's not going through the processing and coming back too late. It's coming back instantly so they can get an instant feedback to what's happening. Those types of requirements are generally better suited for a console. They're made for that specific application. Broadcast, on the other hand, latency doesn't matter. Latency is completely irrelevant to the end user, whether it's a half a second delay or 10 minutes of delay. Really, the end user doesn't have a clue of the difference of those two things. And so we can use that to our advantage and have more tools by leveraging that than you could on a regular console. So it's been great. Another benefit to this is since we multi-track record everything inside that DAW, we save it all. And our songwriters have greatly benefited from reviewing those recorded files and we'll go back and actually create albums from those live moments. And we have content going back maybe 7 years. All the multi-track audio for the last 7 years, if it's a streamed event, is saved. So that's very invaluable when it comes to song production, album production, and even refining things for your band and singers. To be able to go back and solo something, hey, what was my guitar tone like, not just in the mix, but soloed out? You can have a lot better perspective of what's right and what's wrong when you can really zoom into that type of resolution. The pushback was not at all here locally. Now, when we traveled, there's tons of pushback, or if I talk to other industry pros outside of here, or they would come visit, like they would literally laugh at me for not having physical faders to be moving. And they say, you mix with a mouse? Like, you're a total joke. You're a newbie. You're like working in your bedroom, it seems like, you know? And so it was a very unusual platform to be using for a long time, but people are quickly realizing the power, the cost savings, the portability. It's catching on. And if you really need faders, just buy a MIDI fader control, $100, $500. They can get it more expensive if you want to. And you can actually touch faders that control your software. So it feels like you're still on your analog platform.
Is the industry starting to adopt this method?
100%. Absolutely. Yes.
Outside of church?
Oh, yes. Yes. Even mainstream people are slowly beginning to pick up on this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a sense of pride in that?
Well, to be honest, I feel like it was a God-given inspiration for me. You know, I was hired to mix broadcast here, and it was a kind of a leap of faith. I had felt like the Lord had told me it was, he was behind it, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't really have all the details worked out because I was a studio producer, not a live engineer. Like those are two totally different things. And so I needed to figure out how to marry my studio experience into a live experience. You know, it's like two different languages really. And so I said yes to it without figuring out the solution to the problems. It's really a step of faith. And so I think after I moved here, I had about a week to get things dialed before our first live streamed service. And I'm in here every day for hours a day, just randomly trying stuff, brainstorming, thinking of ways how to make things happen. And there was a moment where I found a workaround to make the live stream in a DAW work. And it was not something that was supposed to work. You know, this is 12 years ago when software was harder to use and compatibility was way, way harder. And I found a breakthrough. I found a workaround, a problem that was not supposed to be fixable. And as soon as it happened, it was revolutionary. And I honestly got on my knees and started praising the Lord because I felt like it was an idea directly from Him. And that's changed everything. That one little breakthrough changed everything for us. And since then, software's gotten more robust and workarounds have been presented to make it a lot easier. So now any software manufacturer, from Ableton to Pro Tools to Studio Live to Logic Pro, you can stream in any of those platforms now very easily.